Virginia Department of Corrections just put out the SORT program that has brought everything to light. Now, you got some guys in here that do not, and when I say do not play well with others. Man, you already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. This is part 2 of The Prison Exposes the Mos. They put them all out there for the world to see. Prior to that, we knew of some of them. You could just look at him and tell, like, yeah, he definitely did something he shouldn't have done. We all did something we shouldn't have done. But he did something that went way past what a lot of us has done. And then the guy over there with the Coke bottle glasses, yeah, the one that walks around with the coloring book all day, he's suspect as well. The old man clutching the Bible that don't talk to nobody. That every time he sees somebody reading a piece of paper, you see him get all nervous. He's suspect as well. We knew who a lot of these guys were. These guys were paying rent. These guys were being extorted. Some of these guys are just whooping boys. It's not what you want it to be. You didn't want to be locked up to begin with, but you definitely didn't want to be locked up with those charges. But lo and behold, to all of us, there is a whole bunch of these guys, a lot more than we ever imagined, flying right below the radar, just blending in with everybody else. You would ask them what they were locked up for, and they would feed you this crock of lies. Home invasions, caught a body, firearm charges, narcotics, arson, vandalism, you name it. What guys weren't telling you was what they were really locked up for. But we would come to find out on this day in general that a third, not 3 or 4 guys, a third of our population inside that pod have been lying about their charges. A third, 26 men out of 86. That leaves 60 of us that got various different crimes that we've been found guilty of, convicted by a jury of our peers or a judge, and here we sit in prison. That's 60 of us in this single pod. And there's 26 others in this pod that got the unthinkable. Crimes that involve everything from women to children. And with some of these guys that even involved men. So if you haven't seen part 1, go ahead and push stop now, go back, catch part 1, and then come back to this video. With all that being said, this is part 2. You know how to seen it. You know how to lived it. So let's relive it. So at this point, we're all standing at the back. You've got all them standing at the front. All their names have been called. You got some guys that have been in the cell with some of these guys for extended periods of time. I've been in the cell with you for 3 years. How did you trick me like that? I feel fooled. I feel stupid. I feel played. Now everybody else in here is looking at you. If you're one of those guys and that's your cellmate standing up there, not only are they looking at him like, you disgusting piece of trash, but now they're looking around to find their cellmates, because we all expect the guy that he lives in the cell with to handle that. Now, we don't care if you're 80 years old. We don't care if you're 18 years old. We don't care what the situation is. General rule is each man handles his own. So if he is housed with you, he lives in that cell with you, oh, you got to take care of that. No. There will be no, well, I'm going to talk to him and find out what's going on. His name is on the list. He's part of the SORT program. He's going over there to get mentally evaluated because he done been touching and putting things where they don't belong, and he's been violating people. He's been convicted of it. But he could be innocent. There are very few men in this place that's innocent. Very, very few men in this place that are innocent. Matter of fact, the majority of the men in them places boast about their crimes. Let's just be honest. They cry in front of the judges.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life.
Cry in front of the families. I'm so sorry. Wish I could take it back. And then when they get to prison, it's like a badge of honor they stamp on there. 187, 211. You know, I'm a savage. I took somebody's life. You never hear nobody say, yeah, I'm a 6-time convicted offender. Oh, yeah, I did. I broke in that woman's house in the middle of the night. You don't never hear nobody say that. You don't never hear nobody say, man, I was babysitting these kids one time. Here we all stand, going out for nighttime rec. It's one of the best rec periods there is. You go outside, you catch some fresh air. The sun is starting to go down. It's setting behind the tree lines. The sky gets that pretty bluish, yellow, green color. Fresh cut grass. You can smell blowing in the distance because they keep the grass on the outside of the prison yard cut. They keep the prison yard cut. So that's where we're all headed. Out to just get a couple hours of just peace. A couple hours of just trying to somewhat feel like a human being. And that's the closest you're going to come to feeling human, is when you're out there and you're just staring up at them clouds. And you're looking out at the woods. And you're just taking in the nature that goes on around you that we don't notice. So we stand here and we're looking at these guys, and they have them all standing up front, huddled together like a little flock of sheep. And you could see some of the guys are trying to argue with the guards. Hey, why y'all call my name, huh? No. I ain't got no... Don't make me embarrass you. Got your papers right here. Got your face card right here. There's your convictions. Don't make me embarrass you. You might want to get away from the control booth before I say your charges out loud. Man, but I ain't supposed to be... I ain't got no charges like that. I ask you again, step away from the control booth. You had several different guys that were kind of talking over top of each other, trying to talk to the officer in the booth, causing more chaos than we already had going on. Trying to debate the fact that, no, I'm not a sex offender. I didn't do that, man. This is a mistake. Y'all done called the wrong name. No, they ain't called the wrong name. They went through every single inmate's file in here. One after another, after another, after another. If you've got those type of charges, you're going over there to this class. And then you've got the gang members, which we knew was going to be the worst of the worst. That guy standing up there has been running this show for 2-3 years now. We've watched him take part in doing this to sex offenders. We've watched him run up in the cell of Cho-Mos with other gang members, stomp them out, take their stuff, laugh about it, brag about it, put it all on display, and you got the same charges. So they pop the back door, we all head to the rec yard. Now, they're not letting, this isn't happening all across the penitentiary all at once. I'm in 7 building 100 pod. So if you go in order, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. We are the first pod for them to call from. We go out and we break the news to the rest of the yard. That's all you hear on the yard as you're walking. Hey, man, it's a blade. Pulled him out from the program, swear to God. Hey, dog bite. Pulled him out for swear to God. Swear, my life on it. Double AK clip. Shoot him up, bang, bang. Pulled him out to the program. Swear to God. That's the talk of the yard. So you got these other buildings out and these other pods and all these other hundreds of men were out there in the yard, and guys are literally just walking around putting all the guys we just seen, these 26 guys, 6 we know about, 20 we didn't, on full blast. Now you look off and you've now got the gang members all broken off over here. You got Bloods in this corner. Then you look down that way, you got Crips over here. You got GDs over here. All the gangs have now broken off into their own little squads, I guess, to figure out how they're going to deal with the guys that are in their set. The ones that are convicted of everything that they're supposed to be against have to be dealt with. Then you've also got other guys that their cellmates were just called out that are now walking with their homeboys making plots. I'm going to put hands on him tonight. Hey, we're going to run up in there together on him. Hey, y'all can just come up in the cell and take whatever you want. I'm overhearing everything. I'm talking to my homeboys and there's a couple different dudes that they called that if I had to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and had to pick the person in the room, out of 5, I would have lost. The first fight would take place over at the school. There's a guard on the yard and we hear the code get called. He takes off running in the direction of the school. Now all these guys have to go down this hallway and into this classroom, and outside this classroom is a a series of other classrooms. You got the gymnasium, you got the visitation room, which is also where they hold church, and then you got the bathrooms in the hallway. I expected everything to pop off when these guys got back to the building. Things started popping off way before they ever returned to the building. We got an old head named Green that mops the hallway over there. He mops his hallway all day long. This man ain't never going home. Don't really bother nobody. Has made a name for himself. Has been locked up longer than a lot of us have been alive. One of the dudes comes out the classroom, goes to go to the bathroom. Green attacks him with the mop handle. So they call the code, and we see the officers running down the boulevard in the direction of where the class is. They cut through the building, through the side door, run straight to the metal detectors. Metal detectors go beam, and they're running in the direction. Mr. Green's down there just wailing on dude with the mop handle. Now they know they've got a problem. These guys haven't even made it back from class yet, and one has already been assaulted. You've got one now going to medical. He's got severe lacerations. He's got his head all busted wide open with a mop handle. And these are big, thick, old school wooden mop handles. They're hard to break, but you can use it almost like that thing is like a baseball bat when you flip it upside down. And now you got Mr. Green going off to the hole, and he's got life. What are you going to do to him? You're going to ship him somewhere else, and in a couple of years, he'll be right back here mopping this same hallway again. That would be the very first incident that took place. They blow the whistle. Everybody back into the housing unit. Now, this is at about 8:15, 8:30. Night records come to a conclusion. Shh, everybody back in the housing unit. Records ended. Everybody back in the building. So they pop the door and we start. You got some scragglers. We're out there. We can still smoke at the time, finishing up our smokes, doing whatever we're doing with our homeboys, kind of dragging ass, dragging feet. We don't want to go back in the building. We're not getting back out the building until tomorrow. But you got some guys that are very anxious to get back in the building because they've got cellmates they need to talk to about what's going on in here. The gangs will be the first ones to pop off outside of what happened in the hallway over there. We get back in the building, these guys still aren't back. We're all in there, and guys are going to guys' cells, standing at the door. So what you gonna do about your cellmate, man? Hey, he's over there right now, so it ain't no, he didn't. Like, he's in here with us. He did. What did he tell you got locked up for? So guys are now comparing stories on why they thought guys were locked up compared to making up their own version of what these guys are locked up for. Now, you don't know exactly what he's locked up for. He could have been 19, the girl could have been 17. But your mind automatically goes to the worst because, well, these guys have lied. And I can get why they've lied. If you were 19 and she was 17, ain't nobody trying to hear that. Just because you got that offender stamp on your jacket, you're a target. As everybody's making their rounds and going cell to cell and getting the things they need before we got to go in, we lock down at 9 o'clock for count. We hear the front door open. Shh, clang. And for a moment, it's like the room just froze. As you hear that door slide, you see everybody's heads just kind of turn towards the front. And the first guy through the door, David Bickley. Well, everybody knows he's a sex offender. He's been beat up, tormented, tortured. He's been through the ringer in here. He deals with it daily. It's part of his life. That's what you signed up for when you did what you did. And then a couple guys behind him are also other guys that deal with the same thing David Bickley does. We know about them. Then other guys start coming in. It's like 3 or 4 guys that didn't return. You got 3 or 4 guys that after Mr. Green went upside dude's head in that hallway over there, told him, I'm not going back to that building. No way. You're not sending me back over there. I'm not going. Y'all can go pack my stuff up. Take me to the hole. I'm refusing. I'm staying right here in this classroom. Do what you got to do. So now they're over in the classroom locking these guys up. But not all of them refuse to come back. The first dude to get attacked in the pod would be a blood. He comes in and he's, hey, big homie, let me holler at you real quick. And dude's like, yeah, we need to holler at you. Come over to the cell real quick. No, holler at me right. No, look. Come here, man. Go in the cell. No, look, man, y'all need to listen to me. Look, man. Go in the cell. He knows what it is. When you go in that cell, that's when they can just completely take your life if they want to and slide up out of there and nobody know who did it. But when you're out in the open like that, the guard's going to see it. She's going to hit the code. The officers that just dealt with the one situation are going to come running over here. This is going to become a constant thing real fast. They take old boy in the cell, and you got a whole bunch of dudes standing outside the cell, and there's upwards. These are not big cells. These are small cells. If you put 5 people in the cell is crowded. They've got more than 5, probably 6, 7 dudes in the cell. Old boy walks past them. You got dudes standing here, dudes standing there, dudes standing outside the door, and they're just kind of looking at him. This dude goes in the cell. It don't take maybe 15 seconds before you hear putting hands on him, stomping him out. At one point, he tries to run out the cell, and they grab him, and you see him barely come out, and they grab him, and they pull him back in, and they go to stomping him out. When he would come out the cell, this dude just, it's a familiar look. It's a look of instant swell, knots that are just, they look cartoonish. I'm talking just hematodes, a knot that starts at the top of your head and just goes all the way down the side of your face. It's just one big bulge, jaw sitting out. They did dude real dirty. They sent a message. Now, there was another dude that was in that gang that also got called over there. He was one of the dudes that was smart enough not to come back. But wherever he went, I can promise you, they touched him. Other guys are going up to the cell, and the cellmates are standing in the door just looking at him. Like I told you, we could still smoke at the time. So they're standing in the doorway smoking, looking at the cellmate. Cellmate, hey, Sally, look, man. This was when I was back in 1981, man. Dudes are trying to plead their cases with him. There's an unwritten law in the penitentiary. And the law states that it is at your discretion. That man lives in a cell with you. You do nothing to that man. We don't rock with him. He's no good. And now you're no good for letting him exist in your cell. That night we were locked down. I expected that when 9 o'clock came, you would hear all this commotion break out. Complete chaos is going to break out, right? The penitentiary's going to start shaking from all the violence, right? That wasn't what happened. 9 o'clock came. We all went in. Me and my cellie sat talking, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy, man. 26 people, like, there's 86 of us in here. They just called 26 out. Only maybe 20 return. Like, dudes ain't as dumb as they look, but this is going to be bad. So we're waiting. We're listening. You hear some people arguing. You hear people laughing. You hear TVs playing, toilets flushing, people coughing, all the regular people calling off set, doing, burpees and push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hear the basic stuff you used to hear during lockdown, right? But we don't hear any fighting. So then the doors pop, they clear count, and we're looking around like, okay, pretty much putting the eyes on every single guy that we seen that got called out. And then you look at his cellmate like, all right, we're going to find out real soon. If he don't do nothing, then we're going to move on him. And then we're going to move on him as well for not moving on him. That night would be when everything transpired. So we come out after count. Sergeant comes in, makes an announcement. To anybody that thinks they're going to do anything to anybody in here, we will ship you up in the mountains. We will ship you so far away, they'll have to pump the sunlight in. They'll be pumping air in. This is my prison. Y'all don't turn my prison upside down. All y'all been convicted of crime. Ain't nobody here better than the next man. Keep your hands to yourself. You think I'm playing, we'll bury you in the hole. Leave the men alone. The program is aimed to try to fix this type of stuff, and y'all want to turn to violence. That's why most y'all are here now, because you couldn't control yourselves. He comes in here barking, trying to give this little pep rally speech that ain't nobody trying to hear. You got dudes in the cells, he's talking, you hear dudes off in the distance. Man, shut your whack ass up. Hey, get out of here, bitch. Like, dude shelling from the cell at him. He's looking around like, ain't nobody got no respect for you, man. Most of these guys ain't never going home. You trying to tell somebody what they are and aren't going to do. Like your words are going to stop what's coming. Sergeant goes to leave. Tall black dude walks up to him, takes the same route the other guys took. Take me with you. I'm not staying in here, man. By now you got this blood dude that's over there looking like rock, man. Like just took a really, really bad beating. Dude tells the sergeant, no. I'm not staying in here, man. You're going to be just fine. I already had man, your speech don't mean shit. I'm checking in. I got my stuff packed. I'm ready to go. I'm not letting you check in. You boy, I'm not locking down tonight. That dude drags his stuff out there, had these plastic chairs stacked against the wall, pulls it and sits right in front of the control booth so the officer can see him. Sergeant tells him, you can sit there all night. You're not going to the hole. I'm not going to lock down. That's interfering with count. I don't care if you sit there till daylight. You're not going to the hole. He turns around and walks out. Now, you got these GD dudes doing laps in the pods, which is very common. We would just walk circles around the outside perimeter of inside the pod, do push-ups, pull up underneath the staircase, dips off the phone. Dudes walk by him, dude takes off on him. Bang! Hits him, knocks him out the chair, and they go to stomping him and kicking him. Officer calls the codes. Guards come running in. Had several situations now. They're still trying to process all these guys into the hole they checked in. You got Mr. Green going to the hole. You got the guy he attacked laid up in the infirmary. You got Mr. Sewell himself in the cell, all in there, all types of lumped up, not even looking like, dude, like a damn Klingon. Didn't even look human after they were done with him. And now you got the tall black dude that tried to check in, just get jumped by some GDs, laying on the floor, getting stomped out as they called the code to come break it up. That same sergeant that told him, I'm not taking you out of here, denied. They come running in, dudes are stomping him out. Couple dudes peel off like they ain't got nothing to do with it. And the one dude, he knows he's done been caught. He knows he's going to jail for it. Jail's what we call the hole. He just continues to kick him. Meanwhile, other guys have ran up there, grabbed his bag with his personal belongings, his television, the stuff he's purchased, his commissary, and that, dude, that goes in this cell, that cell, this cell. His stuff is gone. They come in, get him up off the ground, put handcuffs on him, grab the dude that was currently in the midst of stomping him out, and lock him up. This is all in a matter of 2.5, 3 hours now that all this is taking place. In less than, I'd say about 3 hours, there's already been 3 assaults, 5 or 6 check-ins, and then you've got the 6 known about, so you still got a lot of guys to deal with. Now, don't get things messed up. Just because somebody's got messed up charges doesn't mean they're a punk. Doesn't mean they're soft. Some of these guys that went over to that program were jacked up. Big muscle-bound dudes. Not sure what their charges were, but what I do know is he can bench 500 pounds. What I do know is he's been in 30 fights in the last 2-3 years and he's undefeated. So now he's got a cellmate in there that's supposed to handle him, who's looking at him like, man, I got to deal with this dude or they're going to deal with me. I can get with this or I can get with that. We got a big black dude in our pod named Bliss, right? But Bliss is just a big ass dude. He's not gang affiliated. Been down a very long time. We all thought Bliss had a body from the way he talked, from the way he conducted himself. We know he's not going home. People throughout the system know the man. They've been in several compounds with him, but nobody knew he had these offenses. Now he's got a younger black dude in the cell with him that's not built like that. That is supposed to go in there tonight and handle him. I've seen the gang members push up on the young dude, and I'm going to take a guess that, I didn't see it, but I'm going to take a guess that they most likely gave him a knife and said, when you go in there tonight, you need to handle your business. We lock in that night, and that would be the first fight to pop off. You hear Bliss, you want to try me? And Bliss is over there punishing this dude. So this dude was supposed to handle the offender, and in turn, got smashed out. Later on that night, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, we hear another fight break out. This is all in the same period of the same day, traveling into the next morning. We hear another fight break out. Get up off my bunk, go to the door. My cellie jumps off the bunk. He goes to the door. We're both standing there. We're trying to figure out where it's coming from. Boom, we look up. Oh, okay. Okay, that's Shabazz. We had a dude named Shabazz in our pod that was a young buck. This dude couldn't have been a fresh 20, 21 years old. He was also a offender. He's getting smashed by his cellie. His cellie is up there, Donkey Kong, and he bouncing him off the walls. The following morning rolls around, and we're now looking at what's left of the dudes that got to be handled. Now, somebody's got to figure out what to do with Bliss. There's not a whole lot of people in here that are just going to run up on him one-on-one, so you 100% got to put a piece of metal in him. We go to chow. When we come back from chow, these dudes that got beat up over that period of that day prior to that and throughout the night, they can't go to chow. Prison beatings are just overboard because you've got to send a message to everybody else. You don't want to just give somebody a little shiner or a cut on their lip. No. You want to do the worst to that man. You want to send a message to everybody else that if you mess with me, this is what I'm going to do to you. This is what I'm capable of. So when you would fight with somebody in there, you wouldn't just fight. You would do them the worst way possible to send that message. Well, you've got these guys that got done dirty last night, got done dirty yesterday. They can't go to chow. So we go to chow, and we're all sitting there first thing in the morning, and the talking is still going on. Who's going to handle Bliss? Who's going to handle this? Who's going to handle that? So now guys are making plans. We're going to jump such and such. These dudes are going to run up and poke up such and such. They're legitimately orchestrating attacks on the sectors throughout the day. We're going to wait till class is called. We're going to wait till they call first movement, when they call outside rec. Like, dudes are orchestrating these things they're going to do to these guys throughout the day. Little do we know, administration has got a whole different plan. We come back from chow, and usually we would just kind of linger around until they call first movement. That means if you've got school, you go to school. If you're in a trade, you go to your trade. I had a job. If you've got a job, you go to your job. Whatever it may be, when they call first movement, we all exit at the same time. So we would usually just walk around with our coffee cups, go talk to your homeboy a little bit. If you've got a girl that's up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, some dudes do. They jump straight on the phone and go straight to talking. Dude picks up the phone. Hey, turn the phones on. The phone's usually on first thing in the morning. If that phone's not on, that's an indicator that something is going on inside the prison that we don't know about. So dude is standing there yelling at the guard in the booth. Hey, turn the phones ain't on. Turn the pay phone on, man. Turn the phone on. And she just looks at him like, shrugs his shoulders. I'm getting ready to go to work. I come out. I get my hot water. I'm headed back to my cell when I heard the front sliding door open. I look back behind me and about 10 guards come in. And these are what we call the men in black. These are the guys that really get busy. These are the dudes that come in wearing baseball gloves, them black cargo pants. They wear a completely different uniform than the rest of the officers. They're the CERT team. They're more or less the SWAT version of a correctional officer. They come in and they tell everybody, lock down, lock down, lock down. And they've got a list of all the sex offenders in the pod, and they go to each and every one of their cells to do a welfare check on them, at which point they find that several of them have been assaulted. They go to check on Bliss, and Bliss is just fine, but his cellie's in there looking like he's clinging on to life support. Tell him get out of bed, and he's like Quasimodo. They pull the guys that are injured out the cell, cuff them. Even with them being injured, they cuff them, send them over to the infirmary, send them off to medical, get them checked. The dude that tried to fight Bliss definitely needs some type of x-rays because his face looks like it was broken and put back together like Play-Doh. We stay locked in. We yelling out the cell, why are we locked down? Why are we locked down? Why? Open the doors, man. Why y'all got us locked down? Y'all be quiet. We'll get to it in a minute. Our unit manager, as I told y'all, was a lady by the name of Carolyn Parker. Carolyn Parker wasn't there last night when all this takes place. Carolyn Parker would usually leave when the next shift would come on. She would leave right with count. She comes on to that day shift to find out the things that took place last night. She comes walking in with her goons, her men in black, and after they've got everybody where they should be, she comes in and stands in the middle of the room. She says, y'all obviously think I'm playing. Y'all think y'all run this building. Let me tell you this, Greensville Correctional Center is mine. She's now the assistant warden from what I've been told. This is my building. I am the unit manager. And to every man in here that put his hands on another man, you're getting shipped up off of here. We're going to make an example out of you. Now that that's understood, offender such and such, pack your bags. Offender such and such, pack your bags. And she goes down the list of all the guys they had called that were going to this program. That's the first thing I caught is every single name she called would be the names of the guys that were going to another building. Now, some of the guys didn't want to leave. Jonathan Montgomery didn't want to leave. David Bickley didn't want to leave. There were several guys that they knew what they were going to get in here, but they didn't know what awaited them wherever they were going. So these guys ain't wasting no time. They pack their stuff up and they come out and they're standing there, and you got dudes yelling out the door. Pussy boy, we's gonna get at you. Hey, you can't hide. We still gonna see you. When you get across the yard, we're gonna send kites. Dude just screaming this out the door with all these guards standing in. The guards are just more or less just staring around at everybody and all the noise coming from the cell. What they had done is they had took and cleared out a lower half of a building on the other side of the compound, because this was not the only pod that had these sex offenders in them. And they took them all, one pod at a time, and started moving them over to this building. They designated the lower section of the 5 building. They took the lower section of 5 building, 100 pod and 200 pod, and cleared them out. All y'all pack y'all's back. Where we going? Y'all going to different parts of the compound. So then all these new intakes, all these new inmates come walking in the pod as Carolyn Parker standing there, and these guys are dragging their bags up there. And these guys take their, hey, you're going to sell such and such, you're going to sell such and such, you're going to sell such and such. They took all the sex offenders out of our pod and moved them to another building. Now, they haven't called any of the other ones yet. You got to remember, there are 12 pods on this side of the yard. There are 3 buildings, 4 pods in a building. 2 downstairs, 2 upstairs. They went pod to pod, extracting all the sex offenders. Operation Save a Cho-Mos. And pulled them out one by one and moved them over to 5 building. And then took all the guys that were in the cells over 5 building and brung them over where we were at. They would end up segregating these guys from all of us, putting them in their own section of a building, putting them on their own section of a rec yard, sending them to chow by themselves. Like, whenever they would go to chow, they would keep all the rest of everybody else locked in. They ate by themselves. They wrecked by themselves. Essentially, and this is the only time I'd ever seen this happen, turning the lower section of 5 building into PC. Turning that into a PC yard. But things always fall apart. Now, we're all aware. We all know who they are. We sat and stared out our windows as they pulled them from the other buildings. Look. Damn, not him. Oh, look. That's crazy. And then once everything, this is a couple days, 3-4 days we stayed on lockdown where they did all these moves, all these just transferring of guys around, resettling guys in the cells where the Cho-Mos had just been taken out of. After 3-4 days, everything goes back to normal. We go in the yard and everybody's talking. Hey, yo, my cellmate. That is the entire talk. So we quickly find out about all the guys and all the other pods and all the other buildings, and that they all went to 5 building. Here's the problem. For the guys that went to the hole, when they come out the hole, they're not going to 5 building. They're going to wherever there's an open bunk. So as these guys would migrate into 5 building, they would get to conflicting with each other. They would get to beefing with each other. And then they would go to the hole. And every now and then, we'd be in there hanging out, just a normal day in the penitentiary, and the front door would open, and in would walk one. In would walk one that everybody knew what he was. He's supposed to be over 5 building, but he went over to 5 building. He got himself in trouble. He got sent to what we call 10 building, which is the hole. He went to the hole and comes out of the hole and comes into 7 building. So over time, a large majority of them dudes started getting dealt with. Most of them would end up getting shipped. Man, you got to ship me. They would check in, go to the hole, refuse to come out. And after you sit in the hole but so long, they're going to ship you off to another institution. So then they get to a new institution. But the penitentiary is a place where nothing stays a secret. What you do in this prison will follow you to the next prison. If you was a chump at this institute, you better believe when you get to the next institute, somebody there at that institution is going to know you from the last institution and is going to tell them he's a chump. Somebody at this institution is going to say, hey, he's a sex offender. So it just became a constant kind of revolving door of just random attacks on Cho-Mos. It might be a Sunday morning, you getting ready for a visit, and this guy just came out the hole, walks in the pod, and you go from looking up at the TV to watching somebody get drugged in a cell and beat up. The prison 100% green-lighted the sex offenders. Dudes were stabbed. There were so many stabbings back to back to back. They would take guys out of the hole and then put them in lower 5. Lower 5 slowly started to fall apart because Greensville couldn't keep anything like the way it should be. Greensville was ran by some very stupid people. A lot of young guards, a lot of dumb guards, inexperienced guards. You'd have like one leader trying to lead the blind. So these guards were constantly making mistakes. You just brung a man out the hole that's known for violence, and you put him in lower 5. Lower 5 is for Cho-Mos only, and you just took a dude from the hole that beat a Cho-Mo up and put him in lower 5 where he just attacked another Cho-Mo. This would take place for a better part of 6 to 8 months following this, just constantly. Dude would come out the hole, come on the yard, and you'd look over and you'd see dudes mob down on him, smash him out, stomp him out. It became one of the first times I can say being over here on the East Coast where it was just green light. It was almost like they were hunting them. Like everybody knew who they were. Everybody knew who to look for, especially when it came to the gang members. They got it the worst because there was nowhere they could go on the compound. There wasn't a single pod they could walk into on the compound that didn't have gang members in it. If you were gang affiliated, the moment they found out you were part of the SORT program, oh, they were passing kites all over the whole compound to make sure that no matter where you landed, you would get touched. They continued to do the program, but they kept the guys in 5 building. But over time, the guys got pushed out of 5 building, back in the general population. They got pushed here, they got pushed there. I watch dudes get turned into boys, talking full grown men. Say, hey, I'm gonna need you to shave that mustache off. Yeah, that just ain't a good look if you're gonna be my girl. Shave the mustache off. Penitentiary's no place you want to play around. And first and foremost, you shouldn't be messing with nobody's kids, man. You shouldn't violate no woman. You don't do things like that. If you do, I don't think, in my opinion, there's any fixing you. I said it. I don't think there's any fixing you. I think that's a sickness. I think criminal activity, a lot of times we inherit from our neighborhoods, we grow up around it, or we fall into it. I don't see where you can do something like that and be redeemed. A normal mind does not function like that. A normal mind cannot look at a child and get any type of attraction. I see children, I love kids. I want to play, I want to run around, I want to throw the ball, I want to laugh, I want to, do what you're supposed to do. I don't think there's no fixing them guys. But yeah, that was the great green light. That was them trying to implement a program to help these guys. And all they did was put a giant red target on every one of them. Over the next 6 to 8 months, I saw so many assaults, so many attacks take place that it was by far probably one of the bloodiest summers I'd seen. It's crazy looking back on it, how life works itself out. If you've ever had a family member that was a victim of something like that, I don't think no matter how much time the courts give the person that did it, I don't think no matter how much time they give them, I don't think it fixes anything. I don't think that ever heals the wounds. I don't think it ever resolves the issue. But like I said, life has a crazy way of working itself out. A lot of these guys, there was no real justice. They were sent off to prison, but there's so much damage left behind in the act of what they did that I'm not going to lie. Anybody that was there at that time ain't going to lie. We didn't feel no pity for them. We didn't feel sorry for them. I've seen it happen so many times that it just became part of a normal routine. You'd walk by and you'd be like, he had one of those funny. As a father, as a son, as an uncle, as a brother, as a good person, I feel that was was justice. Call it barbaric. Call me what you want, man. I was there. I witnessed it, and that's how I saw it. I saw it as justice. I saw it as some get back for the victims, for the ones that never really got closure. As their life moves on and they think that this guy is just off somewhere and he's just locked up, what they don't know is he's off somewhere and he's become the victim. The SORT program. I don't know what took place at other compounds and when exactly this program hit the other compounds. I know it's in 16 institutions here in Virginia now. So that means at 16 different institutions here in Virginia now, they call that list. And when they do call that list, I can pretty much tell you that everything I talked about in today's video continues to take place. It all comes full circle. It started with you hurting somebody, and it revolves back around to you becoming the victim. Today is Monday. Hope everybody had a great Easter. I had a great time with the children. Thank you to everybody that tuned into last night's live. If you did not check that, go check that out. It was a good live. Part 2 of the interview is out now on the Broken Home Podcast. Make sure you go subscribe, go like, share, but 100% go check the video out. I got a little outside of my comfort zone. With that video, I got deeper into my childhood, who I was as a kid, the road that I traveled that led me to ultimately become the man that I am. From the time of just being a kid all the way up until where we are today. That's on the Broken Home Podcast. Part 1 is out. Part 2 dropped last night. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Enjoy your work week. Be safe. Make the most out of your life. But anyways, these jails, these institutions, these prisons, these programs, they're all just crazy worlds inside of a already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. Just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams, Let's Live Life. And to all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. And y'all know how we do it. Salute.